I have a question. Where do you, yes you, think copper sits in Minecraft's progression chain? Because, at least for me, right now, for survival Minecraft, or at least progression focused players, it barely feels like it belongs anywhere in the ladder. Copper, that is. And the reason why I think that matters is because Mojang didn't just add copper blocks for building or for redstone or for cozy players or whatever, like, like very like story based players. They gave it armor and tools. They gave it a place, and that tells me that they wanted to be part of the progression ladder, but they didn't give it a unique mechanic or perk or reason to pick it over iron or anything. I'm not saying that they need to for every new armor or tool set. What I'm saying is they didn't do that, and that means that they want it to be like a more native type of material, like type of ore and ingot and mineral, right? Meaning that they want it to be like it was always there, which is completely fine. That's good, but they're missing one key thing, and that's that every single material needed has a reason to be there in the first place. Like, stone is there to be a progression to wood, iron to stone, and wood to nothing, and then diamond to iron, right? Not like going down, I mean like progression wise. Like, iron is the predecessor to diamond, and diamond is a predecessor to netherite, you know what I mean? Like, it goes before, right? So, what I think that they're doing wrong is that copper isn't needed. I'll showcase a case of that after I finish this, at least this first section of the script, right? If I finish saying this, right? So, they just didn't do that. They didn't give it a reason to exist, really. If I'm being, like, real. There's no, like, I played the game with the new copper experimental features on, and I skipped over it, and I played it again with the intention of using copper, and I got to iron extremely fast. So there's not really a demand for copper, right? One thing that I know that they could easily do is just make stone not able to mine iron. That's a pretty controversial take, but I think it's needed, right? I think it's needed for what they're trying to do. They're trying to like remake the progression system at least of Minecraft. And I think it's amazing. That's good, but I think they're doing it in the right way, but too fast. I think they're doing it in the right way, but too fast and not informed enough, right? Like, think about it. If you have a game that had this very hardcore set these very hardcore set rules for progression in the game, right? And then suddenly you want to add a new mineral. That's fine, right? But you have to do it in a way that integrates the new mineral to the actual gameplay. And I don't think they're doing that at all with copper. Because personally, I will use copper for building, for redstone with the copper bulbs, and for decoration and for item sorting as they want it to be used for. But I would never make copper armor unless I wanted to, or unless I felt like, oh, I don't want to use my iron, I would just use copper armor, right? I think that's what it's used for. But the fact of the matter is that they're trying to put it into the progression ladder, that's not what's happening, you know what I mean? Like, it's not needed for progression at all, and they're trying to use it in the progression ladder. So, one fix that they can have is making it a necessity. Anyways, that leaves at least us, right? That leaves us with a gear tier that exists in name, like copper, but it doesn't really pull players for any reason. Features that don't connect. Copper isn't the only example. Amethyst looks amazing, but outside of a spyglass or tinted glass, it's basically decoration, and archaeology can be fun. Archaeology can be fun the first time you try it, but in survival it doesn't affect your progress. The sniffer is also a great design, but so hidden. You might never encounter it unless you search for it. and your survival world will be exactly the same if you never do. These are interesting ideas that never get tied into the main gameplay loop, right? You collect them once and ask yourself, what's the point? Or, okay, I did that, pretty cool, moving on. And they end up forgotten in a chest. Granted, they're for exploration. They're made for exploration, you know what I mean? Like the archaeology and sniffer, they're made for those exact things. But I don't think that there should be a one and done deal, like what they did with the archaeological brush. They made it able to take off the armadillo shells, the scutes from armadillos. Not sure if it's scute or anything, but I forgot the name, right? The little shell things that make wolf armor. That was a good thing. They tied it into another system. But the thing is, that system itself is also a one-off system. There's no other need for me to ever get an armadillo other than wolf armor. Minecraft's progression curves and the gaps. The gear curve in Minecraft feels not just uneven, but choppy. Very choppy. Like, going from iron to diamond to netherite works on paper, but the durability jumps are massive. Like, did you know that iron's durability usually is 250? And that gets absolutely jumped to around 1,000 with diamond, and then 2,000 with netherite? That's like, that's definitely not a gradual climb. Definitely not. For one thing, we'd have a mineral in between iron and diamond that's around 750 durability. And also, you can have a mineral between diamond and netherite that's around 107, 1,700. If you're able to have gaps being filled that easily, where I'm able to say that so confidently that you need these gaps to be filled, that definitely does in fact show something about the progression of the game. It has to. It shows something. Copper could have filled one of those gaps. Not diamond netherite, but I mean the gap between stone and iron needed something in between it, but it wasn't really needed at the time. And I think a type of lightning armor maybe could have filled that, but I feel like lightning armor feels even better than netherite, so it would have just been tacked on again, which is still horrible. That's a horrible idea to do. Honestly, when netherite was introduced, my problem wasn't, oh no, it's a new high tier armor. My problem was, this is just tacked on to the end of the progression chain. And I felt like there was no real thought behind netherite even being in the game, honestly. I felt like, yeah, it's a new material, pretty cool. But I felt like the fact they had to nerf getting netherite later on, like much later on, with netherite upgrades, just feels kind of sad, honestly. Because, like, if you were gonna do that, you should have done it in the beginning, right? I think that forging mechanic that netherite had without the upgrade, without the smithing template, was such a cool idea, and I think all armor should have to do something like that. Not be upgraded, but you should have to forge armor instead of just being allowed to just make armor in a crafting table like a dang wooden sword. That makes no sense, really, to me. But copper could have given us a smooth transition instead of such huge, massive jumps. Instead, it just sits around unused. And it does now give early game a smooth transition between stone, copper, iron, or at least, sorry, nothing to wood, to stone, to copper, and iron. And to showcase this idea, I'm gonna play two playthroughs. One where I use copper gear, and one where I skip it completely. If the timing and results are basically the same, or different, that tells us everything we need to know about its current role. The fact that what I'm saying is in fact valid. It makes a difference, or it doesn't make a difference. Now, by the way, if my mic sounds a little bit weird, I recorded this, what I'm saying right now, after the fact, so yeah, if it sounds a little bit different, sorry. the good side of Mojang's updates. When Mojang gets it right, new features still surprise you. They change the way you play. Things like creepers, pistons, and elytras made the game feel alive in a whole new way. And by the way, a lot of people were pretty mad about elytras, but if you want to use a minecart, just use it. You're not stuck to using elytras. Oh my god. Copper could have had that kind of spark like trial chambers, redstone bulbs, and certain new blocks already give builders and redstoners a reason to care with better design. And with that same better design, Copper could do the same thing for survival players. It's not a bad thing. And speaking of the good side of Mojang's updates, think about the ghast, right? I've seen a lot of people talk about how cool and cute it was, but honestly, the implications of the ghast were so much bigger than just being a kawaii new mob, right? The happy ghast, I mean, by the way. Right? The implications of the ghast are moving around the sky without an elytra, and an end update. If you don't understand what I mean by what the implications of the happy ghast are, I mean what it makes way for in the future, right? Or at least what it makes way for in ideas. Or even the idea of the future, better yet, right? And that, what it implies is an end update. And if you don't know how it implies an end update, please pay attention real quick, right? The end update is the happy ghast, is a flying mob. Flying mob flies over the void in the end. If you can fly over the void without an elytra, before you get an elytra, then there's no need to stall an end update. Because now there's a way to get from the end island to the outer end islands. See what I mean? Right? That's the good side of Mojang's updates, right? The bad side. Copper looks nice and adds another crafting option and gives copper a use. But there's no situation where I actually need it. I can go from stone to iron without missing a beat. And that's the problem, right? I keep mentioning this, right? But in a few seconds we're getting really technically heavy, so I'm just gonna yap for a few more seconds, right? So, I can go from stone to iron without missing a beat. What does that mean? The fact of the matter is that we have copper in the equation. So if I can go from stone to iron without even, like, messing anything up in my actual full journey of Minecraft, that's a problem. I would like to be able to go from stone to copper to iron and feel like that's the correct way of playing, and I'm not missing something. Okay, now we're gonna get to the really technically heavy stuff, so just bear with me, right? This is the gear breakdown in why copper falls flat. In the entire falling flat thing in the gear, like the tools and the weapons, it's one thing that would easily fix it. Easily. Right? So here's the thing. A stone pickaxe has 132 durability. Copper bumps that up to 190. Iron jumps to 250. That is completely fine. I'm not arguing with that whatsoever. That is great. That is good. It's gradual. It slowly goes up there, right? But with swords, stone gives you 5 attack damage with the same 132 durability. Copper, still 5 attack damage with 190 durability. Iron finally moves up to a 6 attack damage with 250 durability, right? So here's what's happening. Copper basically is a small durability boost over stone, but you spend more effort getting it and still fall short of iron every way that actually matters. By the way, by the time you've got copper to craft a full set, you're usually already having iron tools or already have seen a bunch of iron along the way. Usually, right? Let's say you spawn in the plains and you go into the first cave that you see. You're gonna find copper on the ceilings, walls, and floors. Then you're gonna find iron on the walls. So as you're getting your copper and trying to be a little technician, you already see iron, which is your next step in progression. I personally never understood how caveman tools were able to actually mine with precision at least, iron. Iron is like the staple. Iron and steel are like the staple of mankind's intelligence and intellectual prowess for a long time. Because a lot of animals have shown capability, like by a lot I mean a few, but like you know what I mean, have shown the capability of using tools, like rudimentary tools. Think like, I think it was the otters or seals that were using like stuff to break stuff, like wood, not wood, like a stone to break some shells, right? I think they were using it to break oysters, right? Think about the chimpanzees that would use stone tools, basically, like very rudimentary, but still stone tools. So I'm confused how stone tools can make iron. I just don't get that. I don't understand that, really. Editor, you can show the diagram now. To easily fix this, you can just give copper a 5.5 on attack damage. That is literally it. That's all you have to do. Just give it 5.5 on attack damage, and that is it. It works because it gives a small but noticeable boost, and it does it without breaking progression totally. How does it do without breaking progression totally? Because in every way, copper is a slightly better stone or a slightly worse iron. So all you have to do is make it rounded out. That's it. All you have to do is just round out. And if you round it out, the way that I'm talking about rounding it out, I mean make it fully in between stone and iron, right? And if you do that, you just guarantee the fact that people will use copper. Practically. In my opinion, I personally will use copper if it was a genuine rounded out version of like being in the middle. I'm trying to get to like the point of it being in the middle of stone and iron, instead of it being like this offshoot that's kind of like stone and kind of like iron. I want it to be in the middle instead of kind of either or. And one thing to fix copper is to not even fix copper. What you have to do is make stone tools unable to mine iron. So copper becomes an early game necessity without feeling like a padding. And maybe, because people want it so badly, give copper gear perks like lightning bonuses, conductive effects, or enchantment synergies, right? I think the enchantment shock, which isn't in the game, but I definitely want it to be in the game, I think the enchantment shock would be very cool. But maybe not just an enchantment, but also a potion. You know what I mean? And like, if you have shock, you can hit. If you have the potion shock on, while wearing copper armor, you don't get hurt. But, or even a copper sword, you don't get hurt yourself, but you deal shock damage to other things, right? I think that'd be pretty cool. Also, integrating copper into redstone and iron, so that it gives itself a unique mechanical role. Because when I first saw copper, I was like, okay, yeah, I get it. That is if redstone and iron had a baby. That's exactly what copper is, right? But another thing you can do is giving copper its own blocks, like the cauldron, and maybe even its own anvil that you have to use to make iron armor. Maybe, I don't know. You know what I mean? You can do that to make like a copper anvil, and they're obviously willing to make iron stuff, copper stuff, because what they did with the bars and the chains and even the copper golem and the iron golem both having golems, right? So the next thing that I want to talk about is the same issue across other features. And this really shows that it isn't just copper's problem. The sniffer has personality but no survival impact. Archaeology is interesting but not worth revisiting. Amethyst is beautiful but underused. Echo shards in resin, yes, resin, they exist but feel like filler. Cool ideas without enough follow through. I think that can really sum up this entire video, is cool ideas without enough follow through. What copper should be is the filling. When you find copper, its purpose should be clear. Builders could see a new block potential. Redstoners could find new mechanics. Combat players could have armor with actual perks. Survival players can get a smoother progressive chain. And cozy players get the beautiful sleek green patina that copper has, the oxidation. Right. But right now, builders got blocks, yes. Redstoners got what they wanted, yes. Cozy players get the spyglass, the patina I talked about, the lightning rod. Combat players got trial chambers. That is so cool. But survival players and players who play Minecraft for the political or realistic feel of it, like players who play with Terraformacraft, which is something I'll get into real quick. Survival players got broken progression, like even worse progression that feels stagnated. And the wrap up, which I'm about to get to, before that, I have to say something, which I might put in the beginning of the video, like as a disclaimer. But I'm not saying we have to go back to the old ways. This isn't nostalgia bait. Nor am I saying that we need some crazy hard progression. Because if you want crazy hard progression, download Terraformacraft. It's easy to download mods. 1, 2, if you're like, well, I'm on Bedrock, download Progression Craft number 2, second age, right? Called Progression Craft second age, or Progression Craft 2, right? It's on MCPEDL, so it's free. It's not money, right? So let's get to the wrap up. The purpose over decoration part of this entire thing. Minecraft doesn't need random features just to fill out a trailer. It needs features to change how you play. If something will matter later, give players a reason to believe that from the start. Copper could still become important, but until it's connected to the survival loop, it's just another shiny thing collecting dust. If you've got fixes, or ideas, or want to criticize my critique, or want to critique with me, then drop them down below. Like and subscribe if you want more of these. And peace. This video's entire thesis is the problem with Minecraft. And its progression, especially. Because a lot of people like to say, well, Minecraft is a sandbox game, you don't have to focus on progression. Exactly. And if you want to focus on progression, you can focus on progression. That's if you want to. I personally want to. I want to focus on the progression part because that's a part of the game that I genuinely like. I don't go to the nether or the end early on in my game because I want to feel the early survivalness of the game, right? I want to feel like I'm being beat down by the world in Minecraft because I want it to feel like a survival game. And I know a lot of people will be mad, but I'm drawing comparisons from Vintage Story. And some people will say, then just play Vintage Story. And I'll say to them, I don't want to play Vintage Story. I want to play Minecraft. And then they'll say, well, get a mod. Guess what, buckaroo? I do play with mods. But I think that genuinely, some of these features in these mods and in Vintage Story need to be in vanilla Minecraft. Okay, if you liked the video, like. If you liked me talking and yapping, subscribe. And if you want more of this, please comment. And peace. Okay, I'm sorry the video is so long. I kind of have a problem with that in editing where I like start yapping like while I'm using my script. I also yap sometimes. So sorry for that. But I had to like add a section because of like what's going on YouTube right now. Little ID thing. Yeah, that sucks. But I genuinely have a question. Like, what happens to the child YouTube channels? Like Ryan's World. What's going to happen to channels like Wild, Ryan's World, and smaller channels that are definitely making money for that minor? Like for the teenager who's running it, or even just child. Like Judd, he's making like a short story, a short film, not short film, a short animation. What about channels like Judd and Ryan's World? How is YouTube gonna deal with them? Because they're definitely minors. And I understand why YouTube would not allow minors to make money from the channels. And by the way, if you don't know, the reason that my reason for it, like if I was a company and I would have done that, and the reason that I would have, if I would have a company and would have done that, my reason would be to not inhibit and even encourage children to like overwork themselves while also having school. That's a pretty good reason that they can easily say, but they're not giving any reason to why children's channels can't make money, other than they want all the money from the revenue. That's the only reason that they can give. But genuinely thinking about it, like just type in Deep Humor or Zero TV. Their channels have been silenced. Like I subscribe to Deep Humor and I don't see his new videos. It's the same. Their channels are silenced. But yeah, peace. Please subscribe. Yeah, I just wanted to add that at the end of the video because kind of sucks, you know. It's times we're living in dystopian. Best term is dystopian. So yeah, peace, man. Peace, peace, people. Actually, peace, people or non people. You clinker.